Welcome back for another week of the Suzanne and Sarah Real Estate Investing Podcast. We're excited to catch back up with you. It's been 2 weeks and we've got a lot to talk about today.
Yes, we do. And while it may not officially be spring yet, we did spring forward last Sunday in most places, Oregon included. And things are popping. Real estate is happening. And we've got a lot to share with you because it's like everyone just woke up at the same time.
That's right. So today we are talking about sellers everywhere and what's happening in our market. We have had probably more showings and more intake meetings for sellers and buyers in the past 2 weeks than we've had in a very long time. So we feel the pressure building.
In a good way. If you follow us on YouTube or you're on our email list, you have already seen market stats for Bend, Oregon as of February 2025. But to give you the quick synopsis of what is happening, we have probably already seen the bottom of the 2025 real estate market in the rearview mirror. February is historically the year's lowest price point, and it was a very even 700,000 in February 2025. We are seeing a lot of cash sales that happened in February, so we know that's generally more investor activity, and that is pretty on par with the season and what we expect. We're seeing days on market are coming back down. So it's back down to 45 days on market, which is down from last month. So that should give sellers some hope that things will be moving quickly as we move here into the spring and summer months. And we're also seeing more transactions. I expect to see a lot more transactions in March than we did in February, but February was actually the lowest number of sales since April 2023. So that's basically 2 years ago. So yeah, things are on the upswing already. Let's move in to what we worked on this week.
That's right. I mentioned had quite a few meetings this week. I'll say the majority of the people who find us through the Central Oregon Investor Network website. And then others come to us from people who know and trust us and want to introduce their friends and family and colleagues to us because they know we do good things. But buyers that we talked to this week are interesting, right? Everybody's looking for something a little bit different. We've had one set of buyers that we looked at the least expensive home on the market in Northwest Bend this week, and they're looking for a long-term live-in flip scenario. We helped them run numbers on that. I was highly skeptical that the maximum allowable offer would come anywhere close to what the asking price was or is on that house. And I don't think it's too far off. So awaiting some more feedback from them on what their thoughts are there. We had another set of buyers come to us, same kind of thing. Their first real estate investment was an accident. It was a live-in flip where they bought a home in an area with high appreciation and lived in it for 3 to 5 years and slowly remodeled it and kept it as a rental. And now they're getting ready to sell it and they're looking to Bend to relocate because cost of living is less than where they're coming from in California. And they can put their money to work here in a way that they can't where they're from. So we're helping them search for another home that is in a great location, is the idea, Northwest or Southwest, that they can live in and improve. So we love those clients, the people that just know the value of their primary homes and are looking to leverage that and keep themselves busy in the meantime. Other than that, it really has been sellers on the radar this week and where we've been focusing the majority of our attention. We had 2 new sellers come to us this week. One was basically a sale listing that had been on the market for over 100 days, and we're helping them get listing cleaned up and back to market. More on that later. And another seller who bought into this market in 2022 established a short-term rental. They are self-employed and really just looking to move their money, their business closer to home in Portland and reinvest there where they can manage their own properties people are making shifts. You never know what life is going to bring you. And sometimes the seller's got to sell, and we're there to be as thorough and helpful as we can when they are. So that's the update on some of the new clients that we talked to this week.
Yes. And I think it's just really interesting to see it's seasonal, right? We know people come out of the woodwork in the spring, but we have not seen this kind of seller activity since interest rates popped up basically 2 years ago. And here's what I think the reason is that sellers are finally just, okay, I'm selling. Basically, I think everyone realized the election didn't really change much. The inauguration didn't really change much, at least in terms of interest rates. And because they're basically the same, they have not moved the needle at all, despite whatever election promises may have been made. And these sellers have waited it out long enough, and those golden handcuffs of their 3% interest rates are starting to feel tarnished, and they're just like done. They're ready to move on. So that is why I think we're seeing a lot more sellers enter the market, and we're excited to be helping them. Let's dive into our main topic of the week, which is all about helping sellers, because there are so many of you out there. We just feel like there's all this pent up demand to move on and move into new things, whatever that might mean for you. So, one interesting thing that I think Sarah and I do really is that we help sellers make their homes more attractive to buyers, but not just through the physical appearance. For example, we have a listing that we actually listed last year, sat on the market, didn't sell. We originally agreed to use the photos from this client's Airbnb, and it sat on the market, didn't move. But this time around, we did a couple of things very differently. So, the first thing we did is we educated these sellers about the benefits to them of selling, of seller financing, of being the bank. And the reason that this is so important at this particular condo complex is it's a really tough condo complex to finance traditionally. So, we only know maybe 2 lenders locally that can do loans on these condos. So a lot of times these places just sit on the market because buyers are excited by the price. They're usually under $400,000, but they can't get loans for them. These sellers have a long-term strategy with what they want to do with the proceeds of this condo. And I knew that going into this. So I educated them about why it might be better for them to be the bank and earn the interest over time, and use that as a way to plan for their college savings plan for their 2 children. So not only that, we educated them on why they want to be the bank for the buyers that come for this condo, but also Sarah drove all the way down to the condo today, actually met the photographer there so that it was pristine, perfectly staged, ready to go, and really, really nice. And just making those final last minute adjustments that can make or break a place. And previous to that, she also went down about 2 weeks ago, gave the seller a very thorough list of what needed to be done, including what ended up being a 9-hour deep clean by my trusted cleaner, who does an amazing job and would never spend more time than she needs to in a place. But Sarah, how would you describe that condo before the clean?
Oh, it was gross. I can't believe that it was an active short-term rental and that it wasn't brought to their attention before that. I can't believe I was the first person to say something. So, yeah, for a 950 square foot condo, 9 hours, that's intense, but I think it really needed it.
For sure. So it's not just about how things look on the surface, it's how they look when you lift up the covers or look in the drawers. And it's also about making things attractive to buyers. And what's attractive to buyers? Not having to jump through the hoops of a traditional loan, getting an interest rate that is at least 1.5 points less than what they could get with a traditional loan, a lower down payment, and terms that work for them, and not having to pay all those loan fees. So lots of things going on here that we do a lot behind the scenes. So sometimes our sellers don't even know that we're doing this stuff, but it makes a difference when that property sells for top dollar quickly.
Yeah. And speaking to sellers not knowing what we're doing, it's because we work with a lot of sellers who these are their second homes. These are their investment properties. They're not there to have their eyes on them all the time. Or potentially they're working with people who aren't giving them that direct and honest feedback, or the people that they're working with aren't really doing their jobs, right? They're not there to see for themselves, see with their own eyes what's actually going on. That, and it's a standard part of our seller intake conversations to talk about seller carry financing. And it's a smaller part of the population that this will work for, or that sellers are okay with. And every seller has different goals with what their proceeds from their sale are going to do. But it's one that we like to make sure sellers give us the time to listen about and actually truly give it consideration, because in a market like this, depending on what your property is, this has the potential to net you more over the long run, get you a quicker sale, open up your buyer pool. There's so many benefits. And a lot of agents don't even ask that question or really even know what it is or how to navigate it. So that is definitely something extra that we do. Another thing that's part of our intake conversations when we're first getting to know our sellers and buyers is we ask what's most important to them. And we've consistently been getting the same feedback over the past couple weeks. And everyone wants good communication and follow-up. People don't want the bait and switch. They want people to do what they say they're going to do when they say they're going to do it. Imagine that. And it really is our MO to underpromise and overdeliver in this department. Suzanne will tell you time and time again that she believes one of my superpowers is follow-up, fast follow-up, and just, follow-up in general. And I agree. And I think it's something that shouldn't be taken for granted, and that sellers and buyers, I think, really recognize when they're working with us, the good communication. And it even comes down to, of course, we're all human. We can't always do what we say we're going to do when we're going to do it. But then it's up to us to communicate about it when we can't. We say, hey, listen, like something came up. I need another day to get back to you. But that's all it takes. And people are happy. So that's a pretty important thing to note here on how to help buyers and sellers more. Other great thing from this week, we met a couple of buyers 2 weeks ago. I had a meeting with them at a coffee shop and we sat down, and one of the first things they said to me is, Sarah, I don't think we can afford a home in Bend. Okay, but your lender just told me you were pre-qualified up to $625,000. So I actually think you can afford a home in Bend. And at the end of this meeting, like I said, we talked to people about what's most important to them and about their experiences in the past buying and selling. And they had a really negative experience with their last real estate agent. And they went on to tell me all about it. And ultimately, at the end of the conversation, my takeaway was, these people don't think that they can buy a home in Bend, and they don't like real estate agents. So that's the point in which I was starting from with these clients. And I'm like, great, I've got a challenge. And from day one, from meeting number one, I told these clients, you have to have a mindset shift. Like, you have to start telling yourself, I can afford a home in Bend, and I'm going to show you how you can. Fast forward 2 weeks later, we are under contract on a home that is $75,000 below their budget. It's the cutest little house. It's exactly what they were looking for. And that's because we were able to get them to change from I can't to I can, and help them understand the true importance of having that positive mindset shift and having a vision and specific goals in terms of just what they want out of their house and how they vision their house on the table. And we found it for them, no problem. So this can be a fast and furious industry. It can be as fast as you want it to be. You just got to tell us to go, and you have to be ready. Okay, so for all of you in the industry out there listening, this is our weekly industry PSA. This is our lesson, warning, or a tip for navigating the real estate market here, or anywhere for that matter. One of these listings that we're taking on had been listed for over 120 days. And whether the seller could have been more involved, I think, is questionable. But ultimately, we took on this listing because the seller expressed dissatisfaction with his current agent, and they found us through word of mouth. And by going out there, no one had been out there for 2 months. I discovered, oh my gosh, I can't believe this place has been on the market. It looks terrible. I can't believe we've even gotten anyone through the front door. There was trash everywhere. There's junk lining the driveway. It's such an incredible property, but the agent really just wasn't doing their job. They were handed an opportunity, but didn't do what they were supposed to do in representing a seller, as far as I'm concerned. So this opened a door for us to come and do what we do, right? Just show how a little bit of communication, a little bit of direct feedback can go a long way. And the deal is, sellers want to be told what to do in most cases. Like, sellers want our expertise. They don't see all the things that we see, and we have to acknowledge that, and we have to leverage our power in these situations. And it's our job to give this feedback, and it's not necessarily our job for the sellers to take it, but when they do, a lot of good things can happen, and that's what's happening in our lives.
Absolutely. And this goes to also a client PSA, because the thing that happens when we have non-owner occupied sellers, and what does that mean? This means sellers that don't live on the property anymore. That's the example that Sarah just shared. That's the example of basically the upcoming 3 and 4 listings that we have. Is these people don't even live there anymore. They don't have eyes, ears, and noses on the ground they can trust, even when they have professional property managers. So do not think that just because you've hired a property manager that it's in tip-top listing ready shape, because the condo we just told you about is professionally managed.
Mhm.
When you hire people like Sarah and I, we are your eyes for you before listing. Why? Because we care and we're invested in having your property sell quickly and for top dollar. We all have the same goals. Your property manager might not be so invested in you selling your property quickly. Nothing against our property manager friends. They have different goals. So, just want you to know that if you do not live in the property, you want an agent or a team of agents who is going to actually go look at it for you, make sure that it's being represented really well, marketed in the most appropriate way, and looking good and smelling good when people walk in the door. So, yeah, we already talked about that condo. Just to give you a little bit of more background and just a sense for what it really looked like. When Sarah walked in, stuff was broken. It was super like grimy and dirty. When you go to flip on a light switch and there's on the cover plate, like it was like that. And all the stuff behind the sink and behind the stove, just like really grimy. It gives you like that ick factor. And there were items that needed to be fixed that the property manager took 5 days to get back to us about, even addressing some very small things. So that's why we're here, to keep everyone accountable and on track. Sarah?
That's right. We love accountability. And that all comes with this direct communication, right? With our 2 other listings, one, we just told the seller what the agent wasn't doing well and why it wasn't being marketed well, and that we need to take a pause for the cause and get a little bit more intentional about this. It's a unique property with a lot of potential, and we're formulating a plan and we're getting it done. It's going to take 2 to 4 weeks to come to market now. It's not one of these like quick turnaround ones, but nor should it be, because if we just did the same thing the last agent did, like, they would be in a no better position, I tell you. If we would have just had new listing media done and put it back up on the MLS, he would have been in the same position, even though we're bringing it to market at a less price. Like, price still isn't going to solve all of these issues that weren't solved yet. They were going to come around and bite them in the butt later, which isn't how this is supposed to operate. And then other than that, like, thorough, thoughtful, comprehensive, like, quick communication is the other thing that is setting us above the rest. Just taking the time to answer everyone's questions one by one, actually asking what questions people have and doing it quickly, like doing it on other people's timeline. Like, done is better than perfect in this industry, and may tend to act like there's more urgency to things than there necessarily is at any given time. Like the way my brain and body operates is there's always going to be more tomorrow. So if I don't treat this as urgent for now, like it's just going to pile up on me the next day. There's more to do tomorrow. So I might as well take care of this today because I know I'm going to have plenty more to do tomorrow too. It's about, yeah, taking that time, blocking that out and continuing to prioritize those things, but also giving realistic and actionable and specific time goals to the other party so they can expect when to hear back from you.
Now for a lightning round of our highs and lows of the week. Our highlight of the week, our biggest win is that we have a ton of listings in the pipeline because things are popping.
Yeah. Low light challenge of the week. Listen, tenant occupied properties across the board. I don't care whether it's a short-term rental, midterm rental, long-term rental, whatever. Multifamily, nice house. If it's got a tenant in it that is not you, it's going to be more difficult to sell. But we know that communication and advanced planning for this is key. And depending on the situation, we've got solutions for you. I am grateful for honest feedback. I ask for a lot of honest feedback out there, you guys. If you know me, I am always looking to improve. I know that I'm not perfect. I know that I'm not for everyone. And I got disappointed this past week because usually when I ask for something or when we want something, we usually get it. Somebody told us no this past week. And I've turned that into something positive because I asked them for clear, honest, direct feedback, and they gave it to us. And it was gold. Like we got some super great feedback this week from somebody who decided they didn't want to work with us. I'm cool with that. They didn't want to work with us because now I know why. I know what the hangup was, and we're going to go solve it.
All right, let's talk about our laugh. This was funny. I was on the phone with a couple of sellers, and we had actually helped them sell another property last year. And the same buyer's agent that brought us the buyer for that deal might be bringing us a buyer for this other house. But what these guys told me, they were just like, nope, she rubbed us the wrong way. We don't want to give her any advantage, even if she does bring us another buyer. And that just goes to show that people don't forget things. And so that's really important for all of us as agents to know that, like, people remember. And if you rub someone the wrong way, people have long memories. So now we'll get to our cry of the week. Man, we had a property listed for a seller last year and even into the beginning of this year that was way overpriced. And we told them it was way overpriced. We told them when it needed to sell. And it was a tenant occupied property, which we just talked about is hard to sell, right? It was overpriced, but we had a lot of showing activity right before he pulled it off the market and told us that he had decided to switch strategies. Not sure what that means, but just wanted to pull it off the market. Lo and behold, this week we got a call from a buyer's agent that had shown it while it was on the market and had a buyer ready to write an offer. So we reached back out to the seller and said, hey, we got a buyer on the line. Are you ready to take an offer on this place? And his answer was, not interested. So we cried a little.
Went,
But we tried.
too bad, but no.
His loss, also sort of our loss, but we move on. All right, so let's talk about our personal investing and our portfolio updates. You may or may not have noticed, but we did not record a podcast episode last week. And that is because I was traveling. Not in Baja, y'all. I was on the other side of the border, even though I did fly into Tijuana, which is a story for another time. I was in San Diego at a real estate mastermind event, and it was soul-filling on so many levels. Just being around a bunch of people doing cool stuff, getting creative, creating networks within the community, and just talking about real estate, but not just real estate, but more about, like, why do we want real estate? What does it fuel in our lives for us? And really thinking about the bigger picture of why we want all this passive income and what it does to make our lives the way we want to live. Out of that is growing private money lending business for me, which I'm excited about. And I will also be sharing more about how you can get into that game if you have some fun sitting around. And I'm not just talking about six figures here. You can lend with a couple $1,000, $30,000, and then of course on up, and make some pretty nice passive income. So more to come on that in future episodes.
My St. Louis updates of the week. I have one subject to offer in hand that I have yet to respond to. I just received it yesterday evening, and I've got to do some more analysis on it. I see already lots of discrepancies in this offer that I need to call and chat with them about. I think they're new to this whole thing that they're doing. So I might have to be educating them along the way. And then I got a call from another agent who I'd spoken to earlier on when I first got it listed. And he said, like, how's your listing going? So I'm like, it's going about as good as I expected a for sale by owner listing to be going in St. Louis, which is lots of phone calls from wholesalers, lots of phone calls and messages from other real estate agents who want to list it for me. So it's a slow burn, and I'm not in a desperate position to sell, but interested in selling if it makes sense on all fronts. But it'll be interesting to see if we end up doing a subject to offer on this, and if that is a better deal for us than just doing it in a conventional way. But as of right now, we've got one interested conventional buyer and one offer in hand from a subject to buyer. And yeah, the agent I talked to on the phone today, who's a conventional buyer's agent, is one of my favorite people that I've talked to in St. Louis so far. And I'm just grateful to have that connection with them. And I think they actually have what might be a serious buyer. So keep you posted on that. On the home front here in Central Oregon, I am putting the brakes on any investing beyond the one property that we're working on right now, because we're going to be working on rehab on that for the next at least 8 months, and are using the BRRRR strategy on that. And we'll keep you posted.
Cool. Tell me quickly, what's your interest rate on your St. Louis property for your sub 2 buyer?
This is why I don't get why anybody wants to make me a subject to offer. It's 9%. So
That's
it's
why I
wild.
was
Yeah,
interested.
the offer is 252, 900 or something like that. They're looking for us to sell or carry the equity. And that's where the discrepancy is in the offers. None of that is really adding up or making sense at this moment. And I have a feeling that they might have had some top end numbers, but then accidentally input some wrong things. So I think they gave away their full hand before even having the chance to negotiate. So sorry for them, but not for me.
Yeah, interesting. Because sub 2 really only works, as far as I know. Maybe there's something I don't know, but it really only works well on properties that have underlying lower interest rates. So
Yeah,
who
I know.
knows? We could learn
I've
something.
been,
It'd be fun.
we might learn something. I've been telling all these wholesalers it's not going to work. Like I tell them, like, you can try bring me an offer and I'll look at it. That's what I keep telling everybody. So
I love
all
it.
good.
Let's get to our actionable takeaways and final thoughts. So, top lessons from this week's episode: the market in Bend is popping. Sellers are done waiting around for interest rates to drop, but they have learned over the last few years to be selective about their agents, and they are doing their research, man. The list of questions we got from some of these prospective sellers was pretty intense, and I will say we passed those tests with flying colors, and it's pretty fun. But the other thing that can be hard for some of these sellers if they bought in the last few years is they don't have a lot of equity. So having those conversations with them in a way that's productive and helps achieve everyone's goals of them selling their property and us helping them and making money in the process is a really important component of keeping things flowing for everyone.
Yeah. Guys, if you are enjoying the podcast, please subscribe and leave us a review. You can reach us on socials. I'm at Best Life Bend. Suzanne is at Suzanne Rose Moore. DM us there, connect with us there, watch us, and let us know what other topics you want to talk about next. Other than that, in the show notes, you can find links to our investor newsletter, our meetup events, our YouTube channel, and also links to book different types of meetings with us. We do free real estate consult meetings, and we've got some other fun things in the works for you there as well. Thanks for watching.